Are you a gamer looking for an unbiased and honest perspective of the all-new 12th gen MSI GE76? Is this really the best gaming laptop of 2022? How does this machine compare to its competition? If it is the best of the best, which configuration should you get? You will know the answer to all of these questions by the end of this video. But if you still have any questions after watching this entire video, just shoot me a comment as I usually respond to all of them. But if you're publicly subscribed, not only do I guarantee a personal response to your comment, but your comment gets replied to first. Now, you may be coming to this video from my fun unboxing of this laptop, but this video is the serious one that'll actually tell you if you should get this laptop, if you watch the whole thing. Stay tuned for my take on the design and build quality, display quality, performance benchmarks for both creators and gamers, sound quality, a deep look into the internals, actual battery life, and quality tests on the speakers, the webcam, thermals, fan noise, pricing breakdowns, comparing it with the competition, and my overall top pros and cons. And now some VR tests as well. You guys have been waiting patiently for this review, and it has taken a while, but that's because I tested both the i7 QHD and the i9 UHD versions with 3080 Ti GPUs on 13 different games at 3 different resolutions to help you better decide on which configuration is more worth your hard-earned money. There's a lot of really important information in this video, so please make sure to watch the whole thing before making up your mind and purchasing this computer. Now, price-wise, you can get this machine for around $2,400 for the i7 version with a 3070 Ti GPU, and about $4,000 for the i9 version with a 3080 Ti GPU. For those same exact specs, you're paying about that much for the Alienware X17 R2 as well, but several $100s more if you want that new and overpriced Razer Blade 17. Okay, before we get into the performance, let's talk about the design and the way that this machine was built. Overall, this laptop as a whole has a very nicely chiseled and masculine design to it. I'm not a huge fan of the logo on the back, but I do like the surrounding material on the lid, and the extrusions around the hinges give it a nice and strong, beefy look. This is one of the thicker laptops out there, but honestly, I don't mind a thick laptop. I want the fastest and most powerful laptop, and this new industry obsession with thinness is actually kind of getting on my nerves. I don't want them any thinner if it makes my machine run super hot and limits performance. I am one that likes a clean looking laptop though, so the fact that this material was almost anti-fingerprint was actually kind of nice. Even with sweaty hands, it did a great job hiding fingerprints. The overall durability felt pretty solid too. It has smooth hinges with just the right amount of resistance and sturdiness, which resulted in very minimal screen wobble. The screen itself is pretty strong as well and has just a small amount of flex. On the inside, I found the overall layout to work well, although I do wish the number pad was full-sized instead of the skinnier, shrunk-down version. But it's hard to complain about that considering the last two 12th gen machines that I tested on this channel had no number pad. I did enjoy typing on the keyboard though. The resistance and travel distance felt comfortable, and it was pretty easy to type accurately on. Not too loud either. The RGB on the keyboard though wasn't that bright compared to the Alienware and especially compared to the Razer Blade 17, but it was bright enough when the room was dark enough to matter. I also really liked the customizations, RGB animations, and reactive features. The secondary keys lighting up was a plus as well, although honestly I think that should be expected in 2022. I really don't understand why Alienware has not grasped that yet. There's a lot of people that work in dimly lit or dark rooms. It seems small, but it's a necessity. The touchpad was also smooth and accurate and easy to use, but I do wish that it was a little bigger. It just felt kind of cramped for a 17-inch laptop. The iconic design feature on this laptop though is of course this light bar on the front. It doesn't just look like a bunch of cheap LEDs. It actually has this almost smoky liquid feel that looks really cool in person. And when turned off, just becomes a really nice and sleek black reflective edge. As far as the ports go, on the right side, a side speaker, two USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, an SD card reader, which I know I say this all the time, but as a content creator like myself, that is a huge plus. And then we've got some ventilation, and on the back side, we've got some exhaust ventilation, a mini DisplayPort 1.4, a USB-C Thunderbolt 4 port, an RJ45 Ethernet port, an HDMI 2.1 port, and your power connector. And then on the left side, a Kensington lock port, some more ventilation, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, a Type-C USB 3.2 Gen 2 port with DisplayPort function, and a headphone and microphone jack. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the internals. So here we've got our two main chassis fans, which are interconnected in a pretty generous network of heat piping. And to the right, underneath this flap, we've got our removable Wi-Fi 6E card. And in the middle, underneath this plate, we've got our DDR5 RAM sticks. And then to the left of that, underneath this thermal pad, we've got our Gen 4 X4 SSD drive. And then underneath that, we've got a rather large 99 watt-hour battery sandwiched in between two pretty decent sized speakers. And we'll talk about the quality of those speakers here in a sec. So how well did this massive 99 watt-hour battery perform? At 50% brightness in battery saver mode, we got 5 hours and 23 minutes with web surfing and idle. And when I ran the test again with the brightness all the way down and the resolution set to 1080p, I was able to squeeze out 6 hours of battery life. This is really only an option though if you're gonna be using this computer in a pretty dark room. And just like all the other gaming laptops that I've tested, it only gave me 1 hour of battery life when playing games, but up to 2 hours if I played everything at low settings. For actual gameplay, Forza Horizon 4 at 1080p when running only on the battery yielded only about 79 frames per second versus the 195 frames per second I got when this computer is plugged in. And then it took about 3 hours to recharge back to 100%. Sound quality. The quality of the sound was a step up above last year and pretty decent for a gaming laptop. Way better than the sound on the Alienware X17R2, but still far behind the sound quality that I got for the Razer Blade 17. Volume wise, it was pretty loud as well, hitting nearly 82 decibels when maxing out the speakers.
Just around the corner.
Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the webcam. The first thing that I noticed with this webcam, which I was pretty disappointed about, was that it was not compatible with Windows Hello. And this computer doesn't have a fingerprint scanner either, so the only way that you can log in is with a good old-fashioned passcode. And this is a sample of the audio and video quality in a pretty average lit room. The audio quality is really not that great. Unfortunately, nothing too special with the camera, just as grainy as all the other gaming laptops. As far as fan noise goes, in quiet mode we got 41 decibels. When gaming in performance mode, it moved up a little bit to 52 decibels. And at full speed, 56 decibels. This is unfortunately a few decibels louder than last year, but the frequency was really not that noticeable, and honestly only really an issue for people that need absolute silence, that don't have any game sounds playing, and don't listen to any music while using their computer. But more importantly, how well do these fans actually get rid of heat? Here you can see the GE76 compared on 10 different games to its two other main 12th gen competing machines right now. It had the lowest temperatures on the CPU and the GPU, with the Alienware X17R2 reaching very high temperatures and the Razer Blade 17 right there in the middle, but still in the same order from coldest to hottest when it came to CPU temperatures. When it came to the GPU at 4K though, the Razer Blade 17 actually had the lowest temperatures when maxing out the graphics. This was mainly due to the less powerful GPU on the Razer Blade 17. Now the most important factor when buying a gaming laptop, performance and gaming benchmarks. For Geekbench 5 we got a pretty average single core score of 1692, but the highest score by far on the multi-core score when comparing it to the other gaming laptops that we tested. For Cinebench R23, which simulates this machine's raw rendering power, we got a single core score of 1772 and a multi-core score of 16767. You can see again that it's about average on the single core score, but leaps above the competition on the multi-core score, which is honestly the most important score because 3D software today, pretty much all of them, utilize every single core when rendering. 3D Mark scores were a little interesting though. 13,376 overall, with a 13,210 graphics score and a 14,404 CPU score. As you can see here, it's about average with the overall scores and graphics scores, but tied for first place when it came to the CPU score. Now for Browser Bench Speedometer, which measures the speed of web applications, it also had a high score of 232 compared to 221 on the X17 and only 116 on the Razer Blade 17. For the hard drives, yeah, all of these machines had insanely fast SSDs, very close speeds to each other. Now for our Puget benchmark scores for creative professionals. For Adobe Premiere, we got 1155, After Effects 982, Photoshop 1187, and DaVinci 1267. As you can see here, it's the fastest in every single main creative software. This is a step up from last year as the Alienware X17 used to be the faster one. Oddly though, for my 10-minute export tests, it was only the fastest when it came to exporting from DaVinci, but still very similar export times in all the other programs. I also started running PC Mark 10 on my machines, and for this machine, pretty pleased with that result. Where this computer absolutely shined though was in gaming benchmarks. At 1080p, it had the highest frames per second on 7 of the 10 games that we tested on all of these top machines. 6 of the highest frames per second when jumping up to 1440p, and 4 of the highest when pushing the machine to its limits with 4K. Running 4K on a laptop screen though is honestly a waste of resources in my opinion. 1440p is the sweet spot, and the kicker here is that not only did this computer have the fastest frames per second in most of the games, but it also had the coolest temperatures at the same time. The best of both worlds. Because of this, you actually do see the benefits of getting the hotter i9 version over the i7 version, as our tests with the i9 showed a 10 to 15% improvement on all of those games. And when it came to virtual reality, this machine did not disappoint either. For our VR Mark score, we got an impressive 14,170. I also connected it to my new Oculus Quest 2 headset and played some Half-Life Alyx, and it maintained a smooth 70 frames per second the entire time. That's pretty impressive for such a beautiful VR game on a laptop. Now let's talk about the software. The main program that we're going to be using on this machine, the MSI Center. Under feature sets, you can see a bunch of different optional features that you can download and install. MSI Recovery is for your backups. This Smart Priority feature right here optimizes your machine for creative applications like Adobe Premiere and Photoshop and After Effects and things like that. Gaming mode is going to optimize your machine to give you the best possible gaming experience. And then in general settings, the main function that you're going to want to know about is this MUX switch right here. Hybrid mode is the best for battery life, and discrete graphics mode is what you're going to want to use to guarantee that you're getting the most out of your GPU during gaming, at the expense of battery life, of course. User scenario is another big one where you can go in and change your performance profiles. This intelligent AI right here actually does a pretty good job switching between these profiles here on the bottom, but I like to keep it on extreme performance to make sure that I know that I'm getting the max out of my machine during gaming. And then if you click on this little gear icon right here, you can set your GPU overclocking, and under fan speed, you can select cooler boost, and this is going to push your fans to their absolute max and cool your machine the most, therefore giving you the best performance. I have to warn you, it is a little loud though. As far as the quality of the display, not as bright and beautiful as the 4K version, but the colors still looked very accurate and it had some great viewing angles. 100% sRGB and 87% Adobe RGB with the brightness measuring at 309 nits. The 4K display though had a brighter 448 nits with an 89% Adobe RGB. I don't usually think that 4K is necessary on a laptop, but I think it's worth it for that extra brightness. Motion also looked incredible on both, with the 1440p screen at 240Hz refresh rate and the 4K at 120Hz. And light bleed on both of those machines was pretty minimal as well. Now, my overall top cons for this computer. Number 1, availability. It is a little frustrating how in and out of stock every higher end configuration of this computer seems to be. They're just getting harder and harder to get if you want a model with a 3080 Ti GPU. My number 2 con, portability. This computer is one of the larger, heavier machines that I've tested, as well as one of the bulkiest. And some people may find lugging around a huge power adapter to be a little annoying. Charging with a USB-C port is unfortunately not an option with this computer. This was honestly a pretty minor con for me though, because I'm honestly not that bothered by it, but I just needed to mention it because there are quite a few people that complain about those type of things. My number 3 con, fan noise. That cooler boost function with the fans maxed out did keep thermals in check, but it was kinda loud. You shouldn't really expect a quiet laptop though if you want the fastest of the fastest laptop. Now, my overall top reasons that you should get this computer. Number 1 is that performance. This is the fastest, most powerful gaming laptop that I've ever tested. And if you're looking for the highest FPS in gaming, you found it. I was thoroughly impressed. My number 2 pro is the thermals. Despite this machine pushing so much power and such high performance, and it being a 12th gen i9, it still wasn't hitting those 100-degree temperatures that Alienware X17R2 did. 12th gen CPUs are known to be a lot hotter, and this machine handled it pretty well. When a machine like this doesn't obsess over thinness, you usually have a better experience with thermals. And number 3 is the price. Although the Alienware X17R2 is $120 cheaper with the closest specs, the fact that this machine is not only faster but has much lower temps, actually has a number pad and secondary key illumination, and the speakers aren't complete junk, makes it a much better deal for your money. So overall, do I actually recommend this computer? I don't say this often, but absolutely. I'm actually going to be updating the descriptions for the other laptop review videos that I did this year, and recommend checking this one out because it's that good. That will possibly cause a drop in views on those videos, but to me, it's honestly just a no-brainer at this point. Unless you really just can't stand the way that this computer looks, and you need the premium build quality from the Razer Blade 17, and you need the best of the best sound quality, there's really no reason to choose one of those computers over this one. If you do decide to purchase this computer, please make sure to use my affiliate links in the description and comments below, as I get a small commission at no cost to you for every single purchase made. And it's a major part in keeping this channel going and getting better and better for you. Guys, remember every week I do a giveaway that randomly selects someone who's interacted with this channel in some way or filled out the form in the description. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date with that, as well as staying up to date with all of my latest gaming PCs. And the winner for this week is
John P.
I'd also like to personally thank my members for their monthly contributions to help support this channel. I really appreciate you guys. And I'd like to welcome our latest member, Mr. Star Tech. If you'd also like to join and become a channel member as well, and you'd like to see your name here, then please click on that join button below. Thanks for watching, guys. I love you guys. God bless.